Ray Richardson.
At age 39, even in the summertime, LeBron James proved he can still deliver when the game is on the line. LeBron scored the last 11 points for Team USA to help pull out a 4-point win over Germany in an exhibition game in London. It was the final tune-up for Team USA before the Summer Olympics in Paris. LeBron finished with 20 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists. Team USA was 5-0 in their practice games. They head to Paris today. First Olympic game is Sunday against Serbia, led by a center named Nikola Jokic. Vice President Kamala Harris was presidential Monday morning at the White House. She welcomed a group of NCAA athletes and coaches who won championships on the Division I, II, and III levels during the 2023-24 season. Harris stepped in to honor the athletes in place of President Joe Biden, who's at home in Delaware recovering from COVID. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is the fastest growing talk radio station in Southern California, home to 50,000 watts and an audience reach of 12 million listeners. KBLA Talk 1580 is a pioneer for Black audio content, including our groundbreaking $2 million climate justice campaign and the most loyal, influential audience. According to an independent research study by the polling firm Aviterus, for the second consecutive year, KBLA Talk 1580 is the most trustworthy, reliable, and credible news source for Black audiences and beyond in Southern California. Let KBLA Talk 1580 power your advertising dollars. Our omni-channel custom marketing solutions are specifically tailored to connect with your ideal target audience. We leverage audio, podcasts, streaming, digital, social media, and local activations to get your message out to the Black community. Get in touch with our advertising team today at advertising@KBLA1580.com. That's advertising at KBLA1580.com. KBLA 1580. We've got you Black.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. Just a few short months ago, California Attorney General Rob Bonta filed 11 felony charges against Diana Turan, an assistant district attorney for Los Angeles County. The charges allege that Turan unlawfully accessed confidential computer data, including police officer files in 2018, and continued to use them after joining the DA's office in 2021. Ironically, Turan, who is now on administrative leave, oversaw the Public Integrity Division responsible for handling high-profile cases of police misconduct and public corruption, including the charges brought against LA City Council member Karen Price last June. To be sure, the case against Price has raised plenty of eyebrows. Indeed, one noted legal scholar has said publicly, and I quote, "Everything about this prosecution reeks," close quote. Could A.G. Bonta, with aspirations to become California governor, be punishing Turan for her role in D.A. George Gascon's police accountability agenda to curry favor with police unions? Could D.A. Gascon be using the case against Price to showcase his tough stance on crime and political corruption as he vies to retain his seat as D.A.? Honestly, I have no idea, but here's what I know for sure. Karen Price has been elected and re-elected by thousands of voters, mostly Black and brown, who stand to be further disenfranchised if this matter is not handled correctly, which is why it matters to us at KBLA Talk 1580. When the prosecutor is being prosecuted, it seems to me that at the very least, there ought to be a thorough, top-to-bottom, independent review of all cases under Diana Turan's purview to ensure that none of these cases have been tainted. Justice and fundamental fairness demand no less, if public trust truly matters. And I hope it does. For KBLA Talk 1580, I'm Tavis Smiley. We welcome your feedback.
Black man KBLA Talk 1580. Yeah, we know we got a lot to unpack, to air out, to understand, to talk about. And I'm happy to be joined by journalists who can help me do that. I want to remind you that you are invited in 800-920-1580, 800-920-1580 if you want to weigh in. My next guest is, unpacking these issues with me, but you're invited into the conversation with your questions, comments, or even your challenges. He's a grassroots journalist, an educator with a multidisciplinary experience as a writer, editor, producer, researcher, and filmmaker. He's had stints at NBC Universal, National Public Radio, American Urban Radio Networks, and Think Progress. But most of what he's done has been specifically with the black press, the Washington Informer, foremost among those. Sam P.K. Collins, also known as Raz Ploquia Lebluwo, is joining me now. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. How you doing, Dominique?
I'm good. Head is spinning a little bit because so much is going on the national and international landscape, trying to keep up with it. But I'm blessed. How are you?
Same thing. I can't complain. I think, today's as good as any to really get down to the issues.
Today's as good a day as any. We wanted to we planned to talk about it last hour, but ran out of time. So on yesterday, an Illinois grand jury indicted former sheriff's deputy Sean Grayson, a white cop. He pleaded not guilty to first-degree murder, aggravated battery with a firearm, and official misconduct. They also released body cam footage of Sonya Massey, who had actually been killed by him after calling 911 to report a suspected prowler in her own home. For me, it's a lot. It's like we are still expected to watch these videos over and over again and somehow maintain our mental well-being. Even though it seems like we are more likely in a small percentage of cases to see some semblance of justice, we are also seeing, at least in 2023, record numbers of black people killed by police nationwide. Your thoughts?
And the timing of Sonya Massey's murder couldn't have been any more inconvenient, and just the juxtaposition with what she experienced with the ascent of Kamala Harris as the presidential nominee, or most likely presidential nominee. And it speaks to what African people go through in this country, and just shedding the light on African women in general when speaking about the police and their relationship with the police. It brings into question, how can we as a community protect one another when the systems that are put in place historically haven't been there for us? And here's a woman who called a taxpayer-funded entity to protect her and to look after her when she was being accosted by a prowler, and they ended up turning against her. And had it not been for the cameras, this officer might have gotten off scot-free with a report. And incrementally over the last few years, as more attention has been put on police-involved murders and incidences in general, the body cam footage and the other things put in have gradually shed light and have given us tools to combat this issue, but there are just still larger institutional, issues to keep in mind. So as I look forward, or as I think ahead to what happens judicially, I'm thinking about whether a conviction will in fact take place, or even if the officer will be able to come back, because oftentimes loopholes are found in the law where these officers are allowed to come back or keep their pension or whatever the case is. Quite a lot going on this morning.
Yeah. Again, I would say that the fact that charges are being brought here is a result of not just that body camera footage, but the protests of 2020 and those that continue on whatever level they continue, and the organizing. I mean, I just was witness to a convening of Black Lives Matter grassroots chapters. There are now 39 chapters across the country. In 2020, there were 42. So we're seeing a resurgence in this kind of organizing, and I think that's it's important to point out that that's part of the reason why we're seeing a certain degree of accountability in some cases.
Oh, without question. And, as you said, in 2020, we've seen organizing around police-involved murders. We've seen that develop into mutual aid organizations and initiatives. We see people just taking back their communities. In terms of the grassroots organizing, and looking at the presidential election, I often think to myself, how can that translate into something a bit more political? Not saying, it's not being political right now, but we as a people are being pigeonholed into the two-party system. And, the two-party system, to a certain degree, is responsible for what we are experiencing on the ground as it relates to police. I'm of the mindset that the Biden administration could have done a whole lot more in pressing for police accountability, as well as Democrats. And I'm focusing on Democrats because from my understanding, it's understood that Republicans are pretty much pro-police to some extent. But as far as Democrats in major American cities, the wave of crime, as they call it, that's taken over, has given. But
we don't have a wave of crime. I mean, I know there are in certain cities like Chicago.
The so-called wave of crime. That's what I'm saying. The so-called wave of crime. What they
highlight the so-called. Yeah, for sure.
Right. What they call the wave of crime has given them license to create these draconian laws that, are pretty much giving them free license to do whatever they please to us in these streets. So, all of that goes back to, once again, during this time, when there's a lot of pressure being put on Black people to choose one of the two, or to choose the blue, as a matter of fact, how do we translate the grassroots organizing into some political organizing that can take place state by state, where within the next 4 years, or even this cycle, we can pick viable, or we can make our third-party candidates viable, or make the case for them. And right now there is a case for a third-party candidate, as we see with Dr. Cornel West and Dr. Melina Abdullah, of course. But how do we get more people behind them? And I think people are more emboldened to vote for them, of course. But oftentimes I see this tug of war between, going all the way and stopping just short of, turning the system upside down.
Yeah, well, you've said a bunch of things that I'd like to follow up on, so we'll do that. First of all, you said you're focused on Democrats because it's understood that Republicans are pro-police. But you're saying that in the context of a very close election where, in fact, a number of Black men, high-profile Black men, are peeling off and embracing the Republican platform, thinking that, I've talked face-to-face with some formerly incarcerated persons who were telling me, well, Trump's letting people out of jail. Trump's, the Republican Party is giving us checks. It's not just sexy red and 50 cents. So we'll look at that. I want to talk a little bit more about third parties since you brought that up. And we've got a lot more to cover. Talking with Sam P.K. Collins and you, 800-920-1580. We are KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is an intervention. When we come forward, includes you. KBLA Talk 1580, turning pain into power.
Help prevent gun violence tragedies. Gun violence restraining orders can help to prevent individuals at risk of harming themselves or others by removing their guns for 21 days up to 5 years. Learn more about how to petition for a GVRO and the role of GVROs in safeguarding communities by visiting lacountygvro.org or by calling 1-833-540-0473. GVROs can save lives.
Hey, I got a question for you. You hate bending over to put on your shoes? Wish you could just put them on standing or sitting without ever having to touch them? If so, then I have the shoe for you. Introducing new hands-free Skechers Slip-ins. With new Skechers Slip-ins, you just step in and off you go. You don't even need to lace up. So how does Skechers Slip-ins work? Well, there's a special smooth comfort pillow in the heel that helps your foot slide right into place. So just step in them and go. Find new hands-free Skechers Slip-ins for the whole family at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles is a nonprofit law firm that protects and advances the rights of the most underserved, leveling the playing field and ensuring that everyone can have access to the justice system. Every year, LAFLA provides free, high-quality legal services to more than 100,000 people living in poverty across greater Los Angeles. Their unique combination of neighborhood offices, self-help centers at courthouses, and domestic violence clinics puts Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles on the front lines in vulnerable communities and at the forefront of change. LAFLA's expert team of attorneys, paralegals, and support staff works to provide direct representation, offer counsel and advice, provide referrals, and educate the community about their legal rights through workshops and seminars. With locations all over LA, you can access their services or volunteer to help no matter where you live. And if you have an urgent issue, call 213-235-0060. That's 213-235-0060. To get legal help, make a donation, or volunteer, visit lafla.org. lafla.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
I have a secret. I use Secret Whole Body Deodorant because more than just my armpits stink.
Oh, can I use it where my bra rubs under my...
Oh, yeah.
And what about down there? You know, my...
Totally. 4 out of 5 gynecologists would recommend it. So I tried it, and now I get 72 hours of freshness from my pits to my...
Ooh, I love that it's a spray.
Me too. And it comes in sticks and creams too. Go get your Secret Whole Body Deodorant.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Okay, so I'm talking with Sam P.K. Collins, WashingtonInformer.com. If you want to read his work, WashingtonInformer.com. He's actually got something on the front, kind of the main featured article in today's edition, talking about affordable housing, which is a super important topic. And Sam, we're going to go back to some of the things you talked about that you brought up that I would like to follow up. But first, let's go to Michael calling us from L.A. Hi, Michael. You're on with Mr. Collins and Ms. DiPrima. Good. What's on your mind this morning?
Yeah, can I have about 30 seconds, and then I would like your take.
This is Terry. Okay. Hi, Terry. He calls us all the time. He's a Republican, Black Republican, PK. Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, cool.
I had so much to say, I don't even know what to say now. But the first thing I wanted to say, that is untrue what you said about only the blacks that have money going to Donald Trump are high-profile blacks, and they don't have nothing to do with him. People's out of jail because a lot of black men have not been to jail before, and we still going towards Donald Trump. But I wanted to say, I don't even know where to begin at. I got so much to say, but so with Pamela Harris,
Kamala.
Okay, she black. So I encourage your listeners. Are we going to just vote for Kamala Harris because she black? Obama was in the office.
Can we learn her name? Can we learn her name, Michael? It's Kamala. Rhymes with Mamala, not Kamala. Rhymes with Pamela. It's Kamala.
All right, can I please have 30 seconds and then have your take or your
Nope, it's my show. Go ahead, Michael, Terry.
Yes,
Go ahead.
So we supposed to just vote for her because she's black? Obama was in office 8 years. He didn't do not one thing. But on another note, what else I was going to say? I forgot.
Okay. Well, Terry, Michael, if you remember, we'll let you follow up and get those 30 seconds. Do you want to respond to anything Michael said, Sam?
Not necessarily. What I will say, I apologize. There's not much I can say on that. I would like to at some point get more of his take on the nuance of the black people and Republicans. But I mean, I do have I am interested in the time being to hear what you have to say, Dominique, about black men and Republicans. If that's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a lot to say about that. I think that, Terry, Michael, who calls us a lot, is, clearly taking talking points directly off of Newsmax and Fox News. If I were to encounter, and I do know, like my friend John Wood and a couple other black men who are Republicans who are well-read, and they have reached the conclusions they've reached based on whatever their interpretation is of what would make things better for America and for black people, I can respectfully disagree. But when a lot of people, the 50 Cents of the world, the Lil Waynes of the world, even Ice Cube, although I'm not convinced that he's solidly in the Trump column, many times what I find with those people, those black men, is that they're going off something they heard, or they're going off of talking points. I call Tuesday Talking Point Tuesday, and I hear a lot of talking points. Michael always calls and says Biden is the worst president in history. There's an invasion at the border. He talks about the classic Republican election line that crime is out of control. And so for me, if you're 50 Cent and the real thing is that you'll get tax breaks under Trump because you're very rich and you're voting your wallet instead of your community, that's your choice, that's your right. But please at least read and be informed. Don't say stuff that's not true. Don't repeat talking points because you heard them on Fox News. As like the pathetic speech of Tim Scott at the Republican National Convention. What did you really say that pointed to something concrete that the MAGA Confederates have done that would actually help black people or has helped black people? They always talk about the First Step Act, which was started under the Obama administration. And yes, right. Trump brought it across the finish line and he freed a few people. He also, green-lighted the execution of 12 people on death row in the last months of him being in office after he was already a lame duck. And 5 of those people were black. So, I just think that many times the black men that show up as Republicans are going off rumors and talking points, and they don't have a depth of understanding of what the MAGA Confederate agenda will actually do to our community.
I don't know if you recall during like the 90s and early 2000s when Donald Trump was, I don't want to say a mascot, but sort of held up in the hip-hop community to some extent. A few rappers dropped Donald Trump's name.
Oh, yeah. I talk about that all the time because he was the playboy billionaire partying, at the New York City clubs with the golden toilet and the models on his arm. And I always compare that to Al Pacino's Scarface character. I think rappers, right. He got caught up in the popular imagination in that way.
Yeah, and it's indicative of what has happened to hip hop. At its inception being a platform for conscious material, and then at some point in time turning into materialism and just any other kind of ism and schism that you can imagine. As far as 50 Cent and other celebrities supporting Donald Trump or expressing support, I think it's more so indicative of just the decline in political education. I often take issue with people who equate Donald Trump with the stimulus checks, seeing as from my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, that's a decision that is made congressionally, with the allocation of funds. So, that's a bipartisan decision that was made at the very height of the pandemic. That was nothing that Donald Trump did per se. So, Of course, I'm not one to criticize who anybody votes for or supports. My only qualm is that we as a people, and not all of us, but a good number of us, we lack political education, and we do take on talking points quite often. And you can argue that it's the same, for both sides. But as it relates to Republicans and black men, what I have seen is, as of late, people taking on an anti-democratic stance, for good reasons sometimes, but they're doing that as they're taking in misinformation and talking points that are leading them to Trump for the wrong reason, or leading them to Trump with a lot of misinformation. So I really do implore people oftentimes when they're talking about politics to really sit down and study the material, long to come to an informed decision. But that's not happening, unfortunately, because over the last 20 years, the education system has really gone down the toilet. We're talking about more standardized testing than ever. We're talking about less opportunities to write. We're talking about children not even being able to get through an entire book. There's no more reading comprehension. Children are going to college not having the skills necessary to even think critically, so professors are not able to teach the material the way that they want to. And I'm hearing this from professors myself. So it's an issue that's indicative of just the decline in education, that has been happening long before we got to the Donald Trump era. And, one more point I do want to bring up, I'm taking up all the air in the room, but, celebritization. We are in a celebrity-driven society, and we need more subject matter experts on the front lines and not celebrities who are calling the shots, because a lot of people get caught up. And, the whole rapper, singer to political activist pipeline, I take issue with that to some extent because it's been abused.
I'm laughing because I've never heard that term, rapper, singer to political activist pipeline. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead and finish your point.
No, it's been terribly abused. And, we're taking on these people as subject matter experts, as political experts, when in fact they're not. Let's bring up the political scientists. Let's bring up the black economists. Let's bring up black subject matter experts that our children can look to, people who actually went through school and did what they had to do to accumulate that knowledge, not rappers and singers. It's okay. You can just do what you do as a rapper and singer. You don't have to be a subject matter expert too.
I mean, and you can also be an activist without trying to be the expert. But the other thing is, too, it's not just our children that need that. I think a lot of it is our grown folks that need that. It's an interesting point, Sam P.K. Collins, is you see the decline of what's happening in education and the emphasis on testing. At the same time, you see the rise of disinformation and misinformation on social media. It's a perfect misinformation storm. We'll continue our conversation. We will get into these electoral politics and more when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign raked in $81 million in the first 24 hours of her announcing she's seeking the Democratic nomination for president following President Biden's decision to drop his reelection bid. Not only is she bringing in the cash, she's now secured enough delegates to receive the official nomination. A House resolution honoring the former fire chief killed during an assassination attempt at a Trump rally this month was introduced Monday by Republican Representative Mike Kelly of Pennsylvania. Kelly says Corey Compertor exemplified what it means to be a man of service and sacrifice. Before losing his life, he reportedly shielded his family from bullets as a gunman fired into the crowd in an attempt to kill former President Trump. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Generators aren't something you turn on each day, but when you do, they must be reliable. SoCal businesses have turned to Duthie Power for almost 60 years to keep emergency power systems maintained and serviced. See the generator experts at DuthiePower.com. That's DUTHIE Power.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
I'm a bad man.
At age 39, even in the summertime, LeBron James proved he can still deliver when the game is on the line. LeBron scored the last 11 points for Team USA to help pull out a 4-point win over Germany in an exhibition game in London. It was the final tune-up for Team USA before the Summer Olympics in Paris. LeBron finished with 20 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists. Team USA was 5-0 in their practice games. They head to Paris today. First Olympic game is Sunday against Serbia, led by a center named Nikola Jokic. Vice President Kamala Harris was presidential Monday morning at the White House. She welcomed a group of NCAA athletes and coaches who won championships on the Division I, II, and III levels during the 2023-24 season. Harris stepped in to honor the athletes in place of President Joe Biden, who's at home in Delaware recovering from COVID. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Texting enrolls you into recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone.
Lower T?
Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that ad on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The key ingredient is something called Tesnor, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again, at work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text LION to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast, absolutely free. Text LION to 42424. That's LION to 42424.
So rich, so indulgent, wrapping my skin in softness. It's Olay Indulgent Moisture Body Wash. My new go-to for silky smooth skin in my shower. With Olay Indulgent Moisture, my skin said bye-bye dry, hello glow in just 14 days. Indulge with Olay Body Wash.
My friends swim no matter the season, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can sometimes take me out of the moment. Now, thanks to Skyrizi and clear skin, count me in. With Skyrizi Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Hey guys, do you want male performance in the bedroom and do you want it now? Get it in 47 seconds or less. For the first time, you can have instant male enhancement. Introducing Nox 47, the topical male enhancement that works in 47 seconds or less. Satisfaction guaranteed. Finally, after years of scientific research, our proprietary formula will allow you to perform in the bedroom like never before. Just imagine that little blue pill on steroids. No reason to settle and wait when you can get instant performance now. Forget about pills and potions that make you wait hours or up to 30 days to work. That's yesterday's news. Nox 47 is brand new. The hottest thing for men. And you don't need a prescription. Call now and get your free supply for a limited time.
To find out how to get Nox 47 for free, call now. 800-617-1621. That's 800-617-1621. Free bottles for limited time. Call 800-617-1621. That's 800-617-1621.
We knew you'd stick around. This is LA's home for progressive talk radio. Welcome back to KBLA Talk 1580.
And we appreciate you. You're invited into the conversation. 800-920-1580. 800-920-1580. We're talking with Sam P.K. Collins. He's a writer, a journalist, and a scholar writing for, among others, the Washington Informer, which you can find at washingtoninformer.com. Sam, we're going to go right to Ron from LA, if it's okay with you. Good morning, Ron. Ron, you there? You ready? You with me?
Special guest, can you hear me?
I do now, yes.
Good morning, Miss Dominique. The reason why I'm calling in, I'm thinking about that black Republican. I'm really sick of him. Miss Dominique, I appreciate you being patient with him, but he takes up a lot of your time, and he does not make any sense, and he doesn't understand how dangerous these Republicans are, especially Donald Trump and his herd. I just don't understand why black men, in particular, want to gravitate to Donald Trump. Donald Trump tried to overthrow the government, Miss Dominique.
He did.
He refused to admit that that's what he was doing. And like when he had this last debate with Joe Biden, he stood up and said in the middle of the debate, I never had sex with Stormy Daniels, yet he was convicted, 34 times? And Stormy Daniels was there testifying on the witness stand. So they got to understand Donald Trump is a habitual liar. And I want to dedicate this portion of the talk to that Republican who called in earlier. Wake up and smell the roses.
Okay, well, I appreciate your feedback about you feeling like I give him too much time. I have had that feedback, not just on him, but others who I disagree with, because I think it's important to let people air their views, even if they're opposing, but sometimes we can go too far and just kind of let them filibuster us. So the point is taken, Ron. I appreciate that. Sam, any thoughts on what Ron brought up this morning?
Oh, absolutely. What we're looking at is what I like to call a reality show about America's last days, so to speak. And, it's cryptic, but America is a relatively young country, an empire, so to speak. And what we're looking at with Donald Trump is the most extreme example of the fascist state that George Jackson described in Blood in My Eye. And I'm speaking about this with Black August coming upon us. But Donald Trump, and the thing about Republicans are that they support their man or their woman, or most times, if not all times, their man, regardless of whether they disagree with him or not. Donald Trump is not liked by Republicans. He is the most egregious example of what Republicans and Democrats do behind closed doors when they have a whole lot of money. So for him to be on stage and do what he do is the most egregious example to some degree of what has been happening in the upper echelons of American society for a very long time. So my only qualm, again, with the whole situation is us as African people getting caught up in the duopoly of this system, Republicans and Democrats, Democrats and Republicans. When you're looking at on the Democratic side, as politicians have done time and time again, they've used fear-mongering tactics to circumvent the rules. There was a whole primary that took place over the last few months in which President Joe Biden was elected as the nominee for the Democratic Party. And within 2 days, they have crowned, albeit not officially, they have crowned his second in command as the new nominee.
Okay, I'm going to push back on that because we select our nominee at the convention. You are true. We didn't have a robust primary, but you are not the nominee until you are voted on by the delegates at the convention, and that doesn't happen until next month.
Are the delegates are we the delegates?
I mean, I'm not a delegate, but the delegates will vote on who will be the nominee for the Democratic ticket at the convention and possibly by a virtual vote. So, I mean, that's the Republican line right now. The Republicans are saying you can't switch horses, but actually you can. Until that candidate is selected by the delegates, they're not the nominee.
Yeah, it's not a Republican line. I'm going to push back against that. I think it's a very commonsensical line. Because,
well, it is a Republican line that, in terms of that's what how they're suing. They're suing the Democrats right now. That's what I mean by a Republican line. I'm not saying you are one. Yeah.
No doubt. But the point that I'm making is, even when talking about the delegates, these delegates, who are they voting on behalf of? Arguably, it could be said that they're voting in the interest of the party elites that are funneling a lot of money into this whole operation, because, ever since the first debate that the president bombed, there were talks among them about pulling back dollars or feeling uneasy about his prospects of winning.
So what are you arguing, that they should be forced to stay with Biden, even if that's not what the delegates, the donors, and the party want?
That's my thing. My thing is, my thing is that it was no secret over the last 4 years that President Joe Biden was an elderly man. And, when he even had decided to run for reelection, that decision came at the culmination of a conversation with family about his ability.
Understood. But, you just outlined how we're facing actual, I know there are fascist elements within our government all the time, but we're facing actual fascism, actual unmasked and unabashed authoritarianism. And to me, to sit there and say, well, Democrats should stick with Biden and they knew he was old and this and that, it's not even just that. Congresswoman Maxine Waters is older than him, and I'm sure she could easily be president. She could do the duties. She can, she is sharp as a tack, and, so it's about functionality, not just sequential age, right? And so, I don't understand the point of quibbling over whether or not Dems have a right to replace their candidate, when obviously they do, because we do because we're doing it, when we're facing what is a pretty menacing threat at this point. I don't understand. I don't understand progressives and moderates who do that, who want to spend their time on that argument.
I respectfully disagree in the sense that, people use emergencies all the time to excuse and even legitimize of the worldly decisions. We saw it post 9/11 when Department of Homeland Security launched, and when, a lot
it's a fair point, but even it's not an emergency where there's nothing illegal that's happened. You might not like it, but those are the rules of the party. You're not the nominee until you get the nomination.
Again, going back to my point about, civics classes, it just goes back to, in my eyes, firmly establishing a point that, to some degree, our vote is not our vote. If delegates who, to some degree, don't even directly represent the people can just come in and vote for whoever they want.
Anybody can be a delegate, though. Yeah. You could be a delegate. I could be a delegate. Just because we didn't run to be a delegate doesn't mean that those delegates don't represent us. That's how it works.
You have to run to be a delegate. You have to run to be. It's so many layers, though. That's the
so
point,
what are you arguing here? I don't get it. The Dems should have stuck with Biden. Is that your point?
No, I'm very clear in what I was arguing. What I'm arguing is that yes, they should have stayed with Biden. If you want me to be a bit more clear, yes, they should have stayed with Biden, or they should have been more preemptive. That was the major argument that I was making, that they should have been more preemptive. They saw this at least 2 years ago.
So, why? Why is that what's important to argue right now, 105, 4, 3, however many days it is from the election? Why is that the pressing matter?
Why not?
Why not? Why not? Because we have tons of talking points. We've got misinformation and disinformation. Wait. Let me answer the question you asked me. Why not? Why not is because we are facing an existential threat. We are facing misinformation, disinformation, problematic talking points. So why get bogged down in something that, seems tangential at best?
It's very far from tangential in the sense that, again, in these party politics, same way with the civil rights movement and post-civil rights movement era, the party elites, many of them who are baby boomers, they hold on to power for decades upon decades upon decades, and they selfishly do that until they are unable to do their job, instead of grooming and bringing up millennials and Gen Zers and even the Gen X millennial generations to take on the succession. From what I see, there was no succession plan in place for Democrats. They should have put that in years ago. Biden should have known that this was going to be his first and only term. He shouldn't have waited until Nancy Pelosi, President Obama, and just whoever else pressured him to get out. It's just too little too late. And it speaks to, once again.
So you're not obviously you're not a supporter of Vice President Kamala Harris for president. I mean, you already talked about third parties.
It's not about that.
But it sounds like it kind of is.
Listen, what I'm saying is that I am a supporter of people who vote and want to be civically engaged, having their just due in the ballot box. I'm a supporter of that. I'm a supporter of people being able to see the fruits of their labor in direct time. I'm a fan of people not getting caught up in identity politics and the
all politics is identity politics to some extent. You don't think white people practice identity politics? I mean, that's the default identity politics.
All right, but when those people come into office, people who come in as the first black and whoever, when they come in, to what degree do they have a class consciousness? To what degree do they acquiesce to our demands? Do we as a voting bloc even have enough power to even command that?
Absolutely.
Do we even come to the vice president with demands before we raise all that money for her?
Hold that thought, Sam. We will continue this conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code PATH to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code PATH for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code PATH for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
Hey, LA, it's time to step up and be a climate change hero. Go Metro and help us shape a better future for all Angelinos. From enhancing our diverse communities to preserving our planet, Metro is dedicated to making a positive impact with every ride. Start your journey at metro.net.
Looks like Bobby needs a ride again.
Grab the keys. Let's take our auntie to the swap meet. Grab the keys.
Whether you're giving rides or hauling gear, do it all in a Chevy SUV. Head to your local Chevy dealer, where well-qualified buyers get 1.9% financing on all 2024 Malibu, Colorado, Blazer, Equinox, Trailblazer, and Traverse limited models. Chevrolet, together, let's drive.
1.9% APR for 36 months. Monthly payment is $28.60 for every $1,000 you finance. Example down payment 15.8% must finance with GM Financial. Some customers may not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 7/1/24.
With reported hate crimes rising in recent years, California has responded through outreach efforts across state government and in collaboration with community-based organizations for the launch of CA versus Hate. This non-emergency, multilingual hate crime and incident reporting hotline provides an anonymous reporting option for victims and witnesses of hate acts reported in 15 different languages through the online portal and in over 200 languages when calling the hotline. Report anonymously by calling 833-866-4283, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. or online at any time at cavshate.org.
Hey LA, today I'm here to talk to you about Grid Alternatives, which is a nonprofit in LA that focuses on renewable energy. We serve communities who have been left out of the renewable energy sector. We offer paid job training, and in 13 weeks, you can become a solar installer. 80% of our graduates get hired into the industry, and once you're hired in the industry, you stop at a high, medium income. That could be $20 an hour or more. 80% of our graduates get hired into the industry. Call today so you don't be left out at 323-861-0105 or gridalternatives.org, gridalternatives.org.
Substance use disorder and addiction is so isolating. And so as a Black woman in recovery, hope must be loud. It grows louder when you ask for help and you're vulnerable. It is the thread that lets you know that no matter what happens, you will be okay.
When we learn the power of hope, recovery is possible. Find out how at startwithhope.com.
Brought to you by the National Council for Mental Wellbeing, Shatterproof, and the Ad Council.
Heard any other talk radio lately that sounds anything like this? We didn't think so. You're listening to Unapologetically Progressive, KBLA Talk 1580.
Sam, PK Collins, journalist and author, is my guest. And Sam, do you mind saying your AKA? I think I messed it up. I didn't say it right. I want to make sure folks hear it.
No, you did very well.
Oh, I did? I did okay? Okay.
You did very well. I was very impressed. Thank you.
All right, let's hit the phones. We got Morris from Inglewood.
Should I say?
Oh, go. Yeah, say it. Yeah, say it. Say it how you say it.
Rasploquia glebwo.
Rasploquia glebwo. Okay. Yeah, I want to make sure we call people by their real names. Morris from Inglewood, you got the mic.
Inglewood. Hey, let me tell you something. Nearly 900,000 people sent Miss Kamala Harris some money. 900,000 people sent her some money within a 24-hour span. Listen. I've never seen anyone generate that kind of excitement in American politics. I'm being careful. I know about Franklin Delano Roosevelt. I know about Barack Obama. But I've never seen nobody generate this kind of enthusiasm for politics. You got people, the Gen Z, is that how you call them, the Gen Z? They send her some money. They was about to stay at home. But they coming out the woodwork. This woman, she got it going on. And I'm going to tell you something. If I was Donald Trump, I would not want to meet her in the alley, in a debate room, nowhere. She's just too sharp. Okay, let me let you go with that.
All right, Morris, appreciate that. Your response, PK?
I mean, no doubt. You know, I do think it makes it more electrifying, you know, of a political matchup. I don't really see Donald Trump holding a candle up to her as far as the debate is concerned, or even in terms of policy. My argument respectfully still stands as far as how we got to this moment and about how, you know, the Democratic Party in general took people's votes away.
You know, it's funny. I had an argument with my dad one time about the late, great Amiri Baraka, a.k.a. Leroy Jones, about Robert Mugabe in Zimbabwe. And my point was like, you know, what about term limits? Like, does the guy get to be president forever? And my dad said term limits are only important when you don't like your leadership. So, I mean, I do believe in younger voices and younger leadership, but, you know, also we don't necessarily have to throw out those elders that are functioning effectively. And I think my dad might have won that argument. I don't know. I'm always for a younger generation. I also think you got to organize your own community and mobilize them to vote in instead of waiting. Yes, it's nice when elders mentor you and walk you into position, but nobody has to wait for that. Barack Obama certainly didn't. Tony from Santa Clarita, you have the mic.
Hey, Dominique, I think that Biden would have probably transferred authority sooner, but he was waiting for that Supreme Court decision with the presidential immunity thing. And that's why he made such a big deal about it after it happened. He went and made that big speech over there in some big building in Washington out in front. And now he's using that same thing with his delegates, just like Trump tried to use with his phony delegate thing. So, but anyway,
I don't understand the connection between that. Why you're saying Biden would wait for the Supreme Court to give Trump.
He thought the Supreme Court wasn't going to give him immunity. He was waiting for it to go the other way, but then it didn't.
I see what you're saying.
I think it's not a slam dunk for Trump, and I think the Democrats really need to hit hard on Vance, because the Republicans, we do not like this Vance guy at all. This guy, the only reason he's there is because he wrote a book. He's never done anything so special.
And because he's best friends with Donald Jr. They're literally BFFs. Yeah. Tony, okay, so you're a Republican who doesn't like Vance. Interesting. Sam, your thoughts?
You know, my only thought I would have is that Trump has really shown himself to be, you know, a dictator of sorts, more so than arguably of the politicians. Donald Trump's not even a master politician. He shows you right in his face what he does. When he was president, his family members were running the office. He was making deals outside of the bounds of what a president could do. So as far as the J.D. Vance decision for vice president, it was, out of pocket to some extent. I'm of the belief that it might benefit him in the sense of unifying some elements of the party that might have not liked Trump at one point, given the fact that Vance, is sort of young. And I even saw an article.
He's very young, 39, yeah.
Right. He was like, if I recall correctly, in the armed forces after 9/11, one of the first elected officials, or I guess nominees for the president or vice president, who is a post 9/11 veteran. But I saw this very interesting article. I forget what outlet it was. Him being the first person on the ticket in a very long time to have facial hair. That even intrigued me in the sense that, it sounds kind of asinine, but at the very same time.
No, I mean, I know that's true, but to me, it's like, okay. And what's under that facial hair is a problematic brain that thinks that women should stay in marriages even if they're being violently assaulted because it's better for the children, is a man who's said unequivocally that he wants to end Social Security. That's what, to me, what's under the facial hair is more important. That head that's on top of that neck, that's more important. And more important than age. I mean, it's a counter-argument in a way to what you said about passing the torch. Who are we passing it to is the question.
I mean, and the same could be said for, who are we letting stay in office? In terms of passing the torch, beyond party politics, when we're talking about ancient societies, societies that existed long before the U.S., you had, different rites of passage. And people who are of, the baby boomer generation, they best serve as advisors. In my, honest opinion, they should not still be in power because there are just, certain situations that they are not equipped for or nimble enough, to address. They are best served as advisors in passing down that institutional knowledge to millennials and Gen Xers who I understand being more equipped to take on the day-to-day of being a leader. And we see it with, among civil rights organizations. We see it to some degree in the Democratic Party, even though I would argue that the Democratic Party is a bit more, they're a bit more welcoming of millennials.
Well, we didn't get to our third party conversation, but I'm up against the clock here. Sam P.K. Collins will have to be continued. We're going to have to keep this going.
Understood. I appreciate the time.
All right. Thank you for the conversation. It's time for Tavis Smiley. He's got a full show for you. As usual, I'm going to quote my dad, Amiri Baraka. He says, thought is more important than art. To revere art and have no understanding of the process that forces it into existence is finally not even to understand what art is. Artists, time to get busy. We got work to do. Tap in on social media, KBLA 1580. I'm at DiPrima Radio. I'm Dominique DiPrima. History's now, and we're making it together. Until tomorrow, one love.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign raked in $81 million in the first 24 hours of her announcing she's seeking the Democratic nomination for president following President Biden's decision to drop his reelection bid. Not only is she bringing in the cash, she's now secured enough delegates to receive the official nomination. A House resolution honoring the former fire chief killed during an assassination attempt at a Trump rally. The Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Generators aren't something you turn on each day.